Is what we are told true? We can speculate, argue, and think, or we can just look and see everything with our own eyes. Then everything will fall into place. I have 4 questions, and you try to answer them. First question: is this a quarry or an ancient pyramid? There are some roads, terraces, in some places you can see vehicles. I have answered this question for myself. So you answer. Well, of course it's a quarry, a Talc quarry in France. Next, is it a quarry or is it an ancient pyramid? Seems pretty clear, but well, I'll give you time to think about it. Yeah, it's the quarry again. It's a Talc quarry in Romania. It looks like something been dug up. A tractor and a truck, all clear. Similar question. I think it's clear again, but come on, maybe you have a different opinion. No, it's again a Talc quarry, only in the US. What's this? Strange. What smooth lines? Distant terraces? Something that doesn't look like the previous one at all. It's not very obvious. What? Another Talc quarry? And in Russia? So, let's look again at all 4 Talc quarries for comparison. Everything is clear with the first 3. Well, these straight lines are more reminiscent of the Mayan or Aztec pyramid. Is it a laser cutting of the rock? What kind of extraterrestrial technology does Russia have? After all, this is talc, the same mineral. Why is the last one looking so strange? Let's look into all this. All this is very, very strange. And now, dear friends, so you don't think I'm making something up, and it's not just some pictures of obscure places, let's look at all these places in the order in which I previously showed them to you, with the help of the program Google Earth, which gives us the opportunity to see everything from a bird's eye view. So, let's begin. The first place is the Talc quarry in France. You can see right away that it has terrace structure, and the width of the terrace is such that a truck could drive over it. We can also see some machines. Let's also measure the width of the road and the truck for comparison. The truck is about 6 meters wide and the road is about 20 meters. This width is understandable. It's just right for oncoming cars to drive away. And now, let's look at this place in more detail from the pictures. Here we can see how huge the distance between the terraces is, and we can deduce that from the comparative size of the machines shown here. On the second picture, we see that is a sorting place where the mined talc is piled in these compartments and then taken to production. I would like to note that this is a modern method of talc mining. I repeat, modern method. In the next picture we can see how the quarry looks like in winter, but it's not very informative. By the way, here we can see how the grass begins to turn green already on the worked out terraces, and the road is already almost overgrown too. One more photo we'll see and we will move on. And here we can see how beautiful the already overgrown terraces looks. It reminded me of the famous lost Inca city of Machu Picchu in Peru, also located in the mountains at an altitude of 2,400 meters, known for its mysterious terraces. Scientists are racking their brains to understand why the Incas made these terraces in the mountains. But never mind. One last thing I want to ask. Do you see any flat, level bottoms at this quarry? Personally, I don't. They just dug up a section of the mountain, and that's all. Moving on down the road, we'll hit a Talc quarry in Austria. And what do we see? All the same. They dug up the mountain, took out the rock by the roads running along the terraces. Where mining is finished, the terraces have already managed to get vegetation. Well, let's see another photo. Here we can see the equipment, and everything is the same. And here they are already starting to develop a new deposit. And now let's take a look at the quarry in Romania. It reminds me of a children's sandbox. Something was dug up here, and is it reminds you of modern technology? For me, not. Probably the most interesting thing here is a castle nearby. It's a Quarry castle, is a Gothic Renaissance castle in Hunidora. It's one of the largest castles in Europe and is featured as one of the 7 wonders of Romania. There is such a function in Google Earth, 3D building. Yes, it's a very interesting and beautiful castle. Well, we go on, dear friends. Teleport to the new world. Here already the quarry is more serious and deeper and bigger in scale. Even you can see how they removed the layer in one place. It's very similar to how they removed layers from the bottom of the dried up Aral Sea. Dear friends, take a look at this video. The link will be in the description. It's very interesting. And here is a slide that looks like the stubble of an unshaven man. I wonder if it's the spent rock already overgrown, or if it's the untouched part of the mountain yet. It isn't. You can see the neighboring mountains are unwalked and have the same look. So, they haven't gotten to it yet. And next to it, if you look closely, is the waste rock. There are buildings on both sides of this dump. A couple of decades and this dump will be indistinguishable from natural hills. At the exit from the quarry, we can already see the sorting station, just like in France, only slightly different. Well, let's measure this quarry, and for comparison, all the previous ones too. So this quarry is about 2.5 kilometers by approximately 1.5 kilometers. In France, we have approximately 3 kilometers by 2 kilometers. Austria gives us 1.5 kilometers approximately by 1 kilometer approximately. And our sandbox in Romania is about 300 meters by 300 meters. And now, dear friends, let's go back to Russia, the place where this strange photo was taken. And what do we see? A lake! It turns out that the quarry was flooded. Well, we will talk about that later. It's a separate topic. Let's look carefully at the outline of this quarry. So, the quarry is in the shape of a polygon. Isn't it interesting, dear friends? Write your opinion in comments. Maybe you know square quarries? I personally do not know. I'm really very interested to know, maybe I was mistaken and it's only usual quarry which hundreds on our planet. Anyway, the witness continues. Pay attention, what a huge number of photos compared to other quarries. If before there were only a couple or 3 photos, here there are more than 100. But why? And now I will open your eyes to the mystery which is now underwater. To understand why there are so many pictures here, let's take a look at the most interesting ones I've not. And what do we see? Does it look like at the previous careers we've seen before? I'm just amazed at what I've seen. First, no driveways for machinery, no dirt. Small steps alternate with the larger terraces. The first and second steps are about the same distance apart. I wouldn't be surprised if the number of steps between levels is the same. And now look at the flat, almost polished floor of the so-called quarry. Where have you seen such a thing, dear friends? Share your opinions in the comments. I'm really very interested in your opinion. Am I the only one who noticed these strange features of this quarry? If you are also interested, I would like you to mark this video with likes and be sure to subscribe to my channel so that I can continue to work in this direction and delight you with new information. Here we go, next picture. Here we can see the opposite side of the quarry. And what do we see interesting here? And that these flat lines go along the entire length of our quarry. Have you ever seen anything like this? What kind of super technologies for talc mining does Russia have? Let's try to figure it out. What does Wikipedia tell us about it? Since this quarry is in Russia and not so well known outside of it, all the information is given here in Russian. But fortunately, since you are watching this video with me, you don't need to know this strange and complicated language. I will tell you the basic information. It says about its location that is located near Ekaterinburg. It talks about its size. It's only 250 by 400 meters and 100 meters deep. Isn't too small for Russia, the largest country in the world? Okay, let's continue. And now, pay attention. In 1974, the quarry was mothballed. That is, this open pit was at the time of the USSR. That is, it turns out that these technologies for mining had already the USSR. And now the strangest thing. The reason for which the quarry is mothballed in connection with the invention of new mining technologies. In 1959, 2 kilometers to the southeast of it, work began on the development of a second talc quarry, which replaced the old lens. This quarry is called New Lens. Let's take a look at this new technology and the new quarry. By the way, it too is now flooded, but the photo from 2007 shows the new technology, already familiar to us around the world. Just some nonsense, some puddle of sand and mud, not the new technology. Let's look some further. By the way, next to the mine we can see the same new technology. Now listen to what I have to say about this whole stolen from us history. The Soviet industry had nothing to do with this mine. When the site was first discovered, it was immediately classified. A group of scientists was summoned. The composition was analyzed, and it was immediately clear that talc was mined here, not the Soviet Union, and not even Tsarist Russia. And it was a high-tech civilization existed long before us. And now I will be able to convince you of this even more. According to the official data, the quarry was started mechanized talc excavation in 1931. At that time, black and white photography was already quite well developed, and there was a very active propaganda of the industrialization in the USSR. So, there are quite a lot of good quality photos of the industry. Let's take a look. But the photos of this quarry resemble sketches made by an artist under the stylization of black and white photography. And if we look closely, it really does not resemble a photo, but drawings made to order, to fool the public, especially since socialism was promoted by the entire working class. And here we see a couple of people for a whole huge quarry. Isn't this strange? Dear friends, it looks like a setup. For the most patient, I will tear these clowns to shreds. Let's move on. First, let's deal with the history of the flooding of the quarries and try to trace it with the help of historical images. You can see that our mysterious old lens quarry was flooded in late 2016 and early 2017. So, when was the new modern day new lens quarry flooded? We can see that according to historical photos from 2007, there is still no water there. We learn from open sources that it was flooded in 2010. So the new quarry was flooded before the old one? Is not it strange, dear friends? And now, the most interesting thing is that talc production was stopped in 2009 and it was flooded at once. And the old lens quarry was mothballed in 1974 and was flooded more than 50 years later. What is this nonsense? And now the version of why it was flooded looks even funnier. In 2016, the pump that pumped water out of the quarry broke, and by 2017 it was flooded. That's the whole story. Well, that's just schizophrenic nonsense, enriched with vitamin C for better perception. Do you hear that? The pump worked for 50 years, then it broke and the quarry flooded. And why was it necessary to keep the quarry unflooded for 50 years? And now my answer. Nothing has ever been mined there, neither by the Soviet Union nor by Russia. This place was explored, and everything that could be found out was found out a long time ago. But over time, people began to realize that they were being fooled. Explorers from other regions began to come, and to avoid unnecessary questions, it was simply decided to bury all the secrets underwater. The second, of course, is the ridiculous machinery that was left at the quarry in order to somehow assure people that mining was once carried out there. Let's take a look at this machinery. The most interesting, of course, is the horror movie Chainsaw, which in no way corresponds to any sawing in this quarry. By the way, note that this saw is just placed on a stand, and it has no ability to move. Rather, it's just there for destruction, and it's indeed an interesting object. It's not every time you see such a huge chainsaw from the game of Serious Sam 2. Next is this poor, miserable, rotten excavator. This poor guy has probably served his time and was lowered down here to the chainsaw, so the two of them wouldn't be bored. Please note the high-tech nano box, which was used to lift the blocks sawn up by the chainsaw, and of course the transport artery, the railroad. And let's look at the rock lifting mechanism on this roller coaster. Does nothing confuse you, dear friends? Imagine the volume of rock and the number of these carts needed to lift the trucks. So, after the above mentioned and viewed, I can safely take the responsibility and declare that it's not machinery, but theatrical scenery. By the way, there is such an open-air theater in Sweden, which is located directly in the limestone quarry. Dalhalla is an open-air theater located in a former limestone quarry and is used as a summer music venue. Now you know that Russia has its own similar theater, which has been in operation for more than half a century, though it's called the Quarry of Fools. Let's move on. It's getting more and more interesting. So the third one. Do you even know what talc is? The first thing that comes to mind is talcum powder. That's right, because talc, on the Mohs scale, is the softest mineral, which is 2.5 times softer than our nails. Now, let's remember again the mining of talc in all the quarries we've looked at. Yes, they are taken in powder, not in blocks, as for example it's actual for granite or for marble. And what do we have here? Blocks. But how? Why do they not crumble? And here's the thing. I'm a PhD in chemistry, so I have some understanding of the transformation of substances. And let's take another look at talc as a mineral. What is its color? White? Right. Now let's look at the color of the quarry, which is dark green. And it's not talc, dear friends, it's serpentine. And why I'm so sure of this? First, let's look at what the mineral serpentine looks like. Secondly, serpentine has a hardness of 3 to 5 on the Mohs scale, which allows you to work with it as a material, not a powder. And third, talc and serpentine are chemically related to each other, and that confirms the direction equation. But after all, talc is still being mined around. How this is possible is beyond the comprehension of our current technology. Perhaps in these ancient quarries, Soviet scientists tried to recreate the technology of past civilizations. Note the dilapidated walls in some places. These are traces of their work. The fact is that under the hard crust of the serpentine there is a talc. According to some technology, the ancients could influence the walls of the quarry and turn talc into serpentine, a harder material, to strengthen the walls of the quarry or for the unknown and incomprehensible to us purposes. It's still possible, but the technology has not been developed. This is what interested Soviet scientists so much. Imagine what prospects for construction of, for example, ultra-deep mines are open to us if there would be no need to use reinforcing materials, and it would be possible to strengthen the walls with the 13 impacted ones. And now the fourth. Like any industry, even an ancient one must have waste. And you will of course want to know where they are. And I will satisfy your curiosity. And we will start small. About 3 kilometers from our quarry there are very strange rock formations, and they are far from being one of a kind. Let's take a closer look at them from the picture. Do you think such a pile of stones can be a natural formation? If yes, how can some of them be rectangular in shape? And the second, how could nature so could throw them on top of each other? But this is just the beginning. Look at the hardened slag from recycling, which scientists consider a natural landmark. And if you want to see the size of this dump, I will purposely show it to you with a ruler, and here you can see that some strange piles of stones and hardened slag appear from nowhere on the plain. But that will be the next episode. Be sure to check it out. And now, for a conclusion. First, the quarry is unique. During the extraction of minerals in this quarry used a technology that is nowhere else in the world. There is no other quarry confirms this technology. Second, there are no roads to the quarry for convenient removal of the rock. Third, the quarry has ultra-precise lines in its processing, which is not found anywhere else today. The bottom of the quarry is very smooth, almost polished. The outside of the quarry is harder than the inside and is modified to prevent cave-ins or other purposes. The historical evidence of the beginning of the mining of these sites, namely the photos, do not stand up to even superficial criticism. The equipment present has nothing to do with this quarry. The chainsaw does not go over the cuts, and the excavator that loads the rock is no needed here at all, if we have ready-made blocks. Strange attitude of the USSR and then Russia to this place trying to keep it as long as possible for more than 50 years, in contrast to the neighboring quarry, which it immediately flooded when it was depleted. With a sharp increase in public interest, the quarry has flooded within a few months. Slag-like objects relatively close to the quarry and can represent a logically completed chain for processing the rock. So what is it? An ancient pyramid? Obviously not. But not a modern quarry either, definitely. My opinion is that the ancient quarry of a high developed civilization, which has survived to the present day. What do you think? I'm very interested to know your opinion in the comments. In the next video, I will tell you about these strange landfills. It will be very interesting, believe me. And so that I feel that you are interested and need it, subscribe to the channel and like the video. Thank you for watching, my dear friend, and see you soon. Subscribe. Subscribe.